What do you think would happen to the lanterns if the lights went out? Welcome to the Complete Story Series. We take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Remember to support your local comic book store by picking up these stories if you enjoy them. We do trim a lot out, and I don't think you'll regret buying it. Now, I'm not going to be going into very many of the explanations about the lanterns themselves or their histories, because we have an entire playlist filled with origins and histories of the lanterns, and it also contains the last massive story arc that we covered. Things have been calm since our last adventure with the lanterns. Nothing to fear, no universe-ending disasters. Kyle Rayner is still the White Lantern, and he's still able to communicate with all of the emotions within the spectrum. Out of all of those emotions that he can channel, though, he feels that hope is one of the strongest, because even when their homeworld was taken from them, they did not lose their hope. They found a new homeworld, and they set up a new power battery there. They never stopped believing that all will be well. So it doesn't surprise Kyle that Relic came here first. Kyle arrives in the homeworld of the Blue Lanterns just after Relic, bringing the new Guardians and Carol Ferris of the Star Sapphires with him. "What fortuitous timing, Kyle!" St. Walker exclaims. "I tried to warn you through the rings, but he's blocking us somehow." Relic has arrived on this planet to suck the power battery dry of all of its hope, and Kyle flies straight up to his face to talk to him mano-a-mano. "Stop, Relic. They haven't hurt you. They haven't hurt anyone." "I wish that were true." And with that, he continues to suck the power battery dry of its hope. "You don't really think that you can harm me with your rings, Lightsmiths, do you?" "Us? No." And then he motions for the Guardians to bombard Relic with the source of all willpower. Them? Probably. But just as they're starting to make headway, the Guardians all enter a mental landscape with Relic, by themselves, with no help from anyone. "I need each of you to see, feel, understand." And Relic shows them the truth about what he is doing. The truth about the emotional spectrum. This truth cripples each Guardian, and they all fall to the ground, allowing Relic to continue draining the blue light of hope. Carol decides that it's her turn, so she bombards Relic with love, but it doesn't affect him, because as she says, he's already filled with love for everything. Kyle decides to tap into the yellow light of fear and blast Relic with fear, but he slaps it away, claiming that he's already seen the worst fears that the universe has to offer. "If only you knew what a waste this was, what a precious resource that you squander," Relic says as he continues to suck the energy from the Blue Lantern. And then he redirects all of the Lantern's energies back at them. Kyle dodges his, Carol maneuvers around hers, but St. Walker takes a full blast to the chest and he falls out of the sky. As he falls to the ground, Relic completes his absorption of the blue light. Brody looks on in horror. "Brothers, the battery is empty. Our rings are all that we have left. And you will lose even that. I cannot allow another universe to end because of your arrogance." And Relic burns the ground, bombarding all of the ring wielders with everything that he has. Brody throws up a blue shield using the little energy that his ring still holds, while Kyle runs to St. Walker's side. But the Guardians run over. "Lantern Rayner, this is a fight we cannot win. You need to understand." And they reach up and they pass the memories that Relic shared with them. Kyle finally sees what the Guardians saw. He understands what Relic is doing, and he understands what the point of all of this is, and he realizes that there is, in fact, no hope. "Kyle, we need to leave. Teleport us out of here with your Indigo Lantern powers," Carol calls to him, but Kyle can't teleport everyone. There's just too many for his ring. So Brody turns to him. "Keep hope alive, Kyle Rayner. There are secrets that even the White Lantern does not know." And he overcharges Kyle's Indigo Lantern ring, allowing him to teleport the Guardians, Carol, and St. Walker away. The rest of the Blue Lanterns sit there, and with no blue light left, Brody looks up at Relic. "All will be well." And Relic turns them to bones and dust. So who is Relic? He is from another universe where the ring wielders were actually called Lightsmiths, and he discovered something terrible. The Lightsmiths were actually using a resource known as the emotional spectrum for the betterment of their races. And they ran out. He learned it early on that the emotional spectrum was limited in its energies, and by wielding those powers, the Lightsmiths were draining the universe. They failed to listen to him and the universe died. Their source wall crumbled and all life was propelled into the void of nothingness. He was pulled in himself, but the void made him anew with the new universe. A surviving Relic from a version of creation that would never be known again. Billions of years passed until eventually he was awoken again by the presence of Kyle Rayner and these new Guardians. He cannot allow the universe to implode again. He will stop these ring wielders and he will prevent the emotional spectrum from running on empty. Meanwhile, over at Oa, the Lanterns are wondering what's going on with their power battery because as they're all reporting into Hal Jordan, it recently spit out a rather ill-looking ion, their entity, and then ion flew off into the sky. The power battery then temporarily shut down all rings, almost killing a lot of Lanterns. But before they can get any real information on the situation, Kyle warps in on the scene with Carol, St. Walker, and the Guardians. Kyle explains the situation to Hal, that the Lanterns have all been destroying the universe, and that there is one individual coming now named Relic that defeated all of them and intends to absorb all of the light. Hal looks at Kyle oddly. One old geezer beat all of you? In our defense, he is large. Greetings, green lightsmiths of this universe. I have come to collect your light. Surrender now and I will allow you all to leave this planet unharmed. We're Lanterns, Gulliver, Green Lanterns. And surrender isn't in our dictionary, Hal tells him. Then you leave me no other choice but to teach you. Spectrum collection has begun. All of the Green Lanterns begin to feel their energy being absorbed by the small robots that Relic is sending out. So Hal throws his green light at Relic. You want light? We'll give you light. But Relic just looks annoyed as he redirects the energy back at Hal Jordan. Wow, I seem to pack a punch. Everyone, let's do this, Hal shouts as he gives everyone orders. Kyle and Carol need to swat away the robots while John and Salik go off to protect the Lantern reserves, and Kilowog will round up all of the new recruits. Hal himself will begin the battle against Relic, but Relic throws his attacks aside and he redirects the energies. Everyone is quickly overwhelmed, and no matter what they do, they can't stop him before he drains the entire green power battery. Hal and the rest of the Corps look on in horror as the central power battery explodes and Oa begins to tremble. Saddened, Salik says Oa is about to die. Relic turns to Hal and John as they come barreling in ready to fight. Still refuse to lay down your rings? Green Lanterns have one thing that can never be stopped: willpower. And they continue their battle against the giant known as Relic, but he just tosses them aside again. So John looks at Hal. We need to retreat. Our rings are losing power, and if we stay, we'll lose most of the Corps, if not all of it. Take everyone and get off the planet, Hal. I'll distract him. I'll make the final stand. John, you can't be serious, Hal says. But he knows that there's no other option. The whole planet begins to shake and quiver without the central power battery to keep it afloat, and Hal calls to arms all of the Corps. Be ready for John's signal to leave. We're going to escape. So John takes the best soldiers that he can muster, and the recruits who are ready to lay down their lives, and he gets everyone ready for the ultimate showdown with Relic. They use as much power as they can to make a construct-based army, and they begin the battle against Relic and his collectors. As John stands valiantly against Relic and his collectors, all opposition from Hal, Kyle, and everyone else leaves, leaving them the opportunity that they need to leave the planet finally. Once everyone is safe and Oa is on the brink of exploding, John takes his men and they leave the planet as one of his trusted friends sacrifices himself so that everyone else can leave. After saluting his fallen comrades, John heads to the planet of the Indigo Lanterns to get their help. Relic moves on to the next phase of his plans because he has enough energy to do what he must. And out in space staring at what was once Oa, Hal is at a loss as to what he should do next. But everyone agrees that they should go to Yasmalt and talk to Guy Gardner, because he's currently the leader of the Red Lanterns, and the Red Lanterns are a mix of emotional spectrum and blood magic. Maybe they have an idea on how they can stop Relic. When out of the blue, all of the entities arrive in front of them. All of the true source of the emotional spectrum just show up. They all enter Kyle Rayner's body, transforming him into the ultimate entity host. Without a word, Kyle begins to take off in a different direction, and Hal orders for the Corps to stop him in his tracks. If all of the entities are in Kyle, they can use this, but Kyle waves off all of the Green Lanterns, and Hal yells stop, and the entities listen. We can all hear you. We all know the struggle that you are dealing with, but it is not Relic that made us weak. This is bigger than you, Lantern, and if you wish to go to Yasmalt, then go! And with a wave of their hand, Hal and the Corps all vanish, and Kyle is left alone to struggle with the voices of every entity in his head. It's too much and he can't resist them as they begin to search for the Butcher, one of the missing entities. Luckily, the Guardians were not thrown to Yasmalt, and they're here to save Kyle and help him gain control once again. The entities are inside me still, but I have control, Kyle tells them as it begins to calm down, and he does gain control. The Guardians look to Kyle and they tell him that maybe they should all convene with Hal and the others at Yawsvault then. They'll be a little behind, but they can get there. But Kyle stops them. No, I know what the entities know, and we can't stop Relic. We need to help him. Back with Hal and the Corps, they arrive on Yawsvault to get the help from his undercover agent, Guy Gardner, the current leader of the Reds. But Guy isn't too happy with Hal, and he feels that he's been deserted among the Reds. After a fistfight and an argument, Guy Gardner agrees to aid them, but on one condition. The Red Lanterns will get Earth's sector to patrol after this is over. Back in space, Kyle Rayner takes off to get the Butcher, the entity of rage that is currently being contained in Atrocitus's body after he was kicked out of leading the Reds by Guy Gardner. Kyle takes the Butcher into himself, and he leaves Atrocitus afloat in space with Dexter here to help him. Once all of the groups are assembled, they all head to Relic's position to find an end to this. Relic is currently at the Source Wall, the edge of the universe, and he's trying to find a way through the wall to existence itself. Kyle is the first one to arrive and he looks at Relic. I have all of the entities, and with their power, there isn't much that I can't do. That may be true, but I will not surrender my cause to a mere threat. You don't understand, Relic. I want to help you. The Source Wall must fall. Back with Hal, Guy, and Carol, they decide to get moving. And since Carol is a Star Sapphire, she can warp to the one that she loves, which is now Kyle Rayner, much to Hal's dismay. So she starts the teleportation process to get everyone to Kyle at the Source Wall. But before they get there, Relic and Kyle are running out of options to open the Source Wall. Relic doesn't have enough power to get through, so he grabs Kyle. I accept your offer to help. And he begins to drain the light of the White Lantern and the entities themselves. Just then, Carol, Hal, Guy, and the rest of the Corps arrive, and they begin to open fire on Relic and his collectors, and they quickly break Kyle free, and right at that moment, John teleports in with the help of the entire Indigo tribe. He tackles Guy, saving him from a blast, and calling his new outfit the outfit of a deranged Santa Lantern. And with the aid of the Green, Red, and Indigo Corps, they all open fire on Relic's ship, causing it to explode from the inside and then crash into the Source Wall, forcing it to become one with the Source Wall. Hal watches it become part of the wall and remembers, anything that the wall touches, it absorbs. He finally has an idea. Ring, check everyone's charges and keep us updated. John Stewart at 5%, Guy Gardner at 12%, Hal Jordan at 6%, and Kyle Rayner at 28%. Hey Kyle, get in the fight, why don't you? Guy says to him sarcastically. We've got enough power for one more run, so don't waste your energy on blasts or constructs. Indigo 1, teleport us between Relic and his reflectors. So that's exactly what she does, and they all literally jump onto Relic's head, and they all begin to push him backwards towards the wall as he struggles to fight back. But once they gain momentum, Hal, John, and Guy all back off like planned. But Kyle, he uses the last of his juice to continue pulling Relic towards the wall. Kyle's ring overcharges as he pulls Relic into the Source Wall. Relic finally sees the source behind the Source Wall as he attempts to pull himself out. Then Relic becomes one with the Source Wall. Everyone stares in horror as they realize that Kyle just gave his life to replenish the emotional spectrum. By going through the wall with all of the entities, the emotional spectrum is officially refilled. Kyle's gone, Hal says. He went down on the line of duty, and we'll honor him for that. But now, we need to get everyone home, Hal. So the Indigo tribe surrounds all of the Green Lanterns, and they begin a massive teleportation, warping everyone to Mogo, the giant planet-sized Green Lantern, and their new home. The Indigo tribe was even nice enough to use their ancient arts and restore the green power battery. So Hal raises his recharged ring into the sky. And the brightest day and the blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware our power, Green Lantern's light. And then he realizes that no one is reciting it with him. One of the Green Lanterns stepped forward. Don't you see, Hal? Relic was right. While Kyle's sacrifice did replenish the emotional spectrum, the clock is already ticking down to when the universe will end again. And who's to say that there will ever be a White Lantern again to replenish it? Meanwhile, across the galaxy at the Source Wall, the Guardians stand at the absorbed Relic and they comment on how losing Kyle Rayner was a great loss for them. Only to see a rainbow shoot out of the wall and out steps Kyle. Tell us, Kyle, what happened over there? The entities, they sacrificed themselves. They're dead. What else do you remember? You must have experienced so much. I don't remember. But then one of the other Guardians speaks up. Kyle Rayner's revival must be kept secret, brother, for it is time for his true journey to begin. And thus begins the second major arc for the Green Lantern lore. This time it doesn't really go into a direct path where they all fight a giant enemy, but it does follow the Red Lanterns and the White Lanterns much more closely. So we'll be getting to them eventually. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, check out the other videos on screen right now. You just might like those also. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian. I'll see you guys next time right here.